This is Stay Paid, the marketing podcast that gives listeners a competitive edge to stay motivated, find inspiration, and discover proven real-world tactics from some of the best marketers across the nation.
Welcome to another Silver Dollar episode of Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Akery.
And every now and then here on Stay Paid, we take a break from the sales and marketing aspect of your business to talk about business management as a broader prospect. And part of that is building and managing a team. So we've spent a few podcasts over the years talking about how to hire salespeople or others into your organization, but equally important is navigating the challenging task of knowing when to terminate an employee to safeguard the overall success of the business or the team itself. So today we're going to talk about 4 critical signs that indicate when it might be time to let someone go with empathy, fairness, and professionalism.
I like how you added that. I was just going to say, you're fired.
I figured I'm like, we're going to be yin and yang empathy, on this one. I got to try and bring the softer side.
Yeah, the empathy. No, it's a critical thing. It's funny. The more I do business, the more I realize the common saying, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
And that applies to people. It also, and it's anybody that's been in the business space for long enough, that has led businesses for long enough, understands that. It's not meant to be a cold statement. I wish everybody could come with you.
Yeah.
They can't come with you because there's certain skill sets needed at certain levels, and the skill set needed to get you to $1 million is different than 10 million, different than 20 million, different than 70 million. Like, it is amazing how it's the Jack Welch rule. Like, he would look for the 10% lowest performers and cut them.
Yeah.
And that was part of his culture there at whatever GE or whatever.
Well, that's also like where that middle part of fairness comes in. It's like people knew it. It wasn't a surprise. I think that's sort of like what we want to drive home is obviously you have to look for these critical signs. You have to make the decision, right? You can't sit on it and let someone in your organization that isn't moving you forward, or worse, bringing the team down, which we'll go over in some of our points.
Yep.
But the fact that was a process that everybody knew existed creates that fairness within the organization.
Well, because it feels good to talk about, and this is why, just funny opening up this way, but it feels good to always talk about the growth aspect, the inspiration aspect, the nurturing aspect, the mentoring aspect of people. So that feels good. But oftentimes in life, what feels good isn't the best for you. Yep. Sometimes in life, you actually have to go through some pain, some discomfort to get growth. And so I would challenge everybody, like Grant Cardone says this, like when he's pushing really hard to grow and he's not growing, he says, the first thing I do is I look internally and I go, who's pulling against me? Who's pulling against me? He goes, believe it or not, the biggest leaps in my organization have come from me letting people go. Mm-hmm. And people hearing this probably are not going to understand. I understand. Now we've grown, 70 plus million. And I go, I understand what he's saying. And it has nothing, it's not personal. It's not that this person's being vindictive to you. Sometimes that happens. You got to get rid of that. But it's not that. It's literally an alignment of skills, an alignment of vision, an alignment of desire. Like, if you don't have those things in alignment, man, you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
You're not going to grow. And you have to be willing to cut the fat. You have to be willing to go through the refining fire. And oftentimes that means letting go of people. Now, there's a proper way to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. But it often means letting go of people.
Well, let's talk about number 1, because this is probably the most obvious one and the easiest one to measure, but this is performance problems, right? Yes. So people not hitting their actual metrics or what they're expected to do from a performance situation.
Don't make excuses for people. Yeah. Don't accept people's excuses.
So easy.
You get what you accept, not what you want. You get what you accept, right? So you might have these goals, you might have these standards, you might have these core values, you might have this culture, but all that's words on paper. What you accept is truly what your goals are, what your standards are, what your culture is. That is the truth. And so when it comes to performance, the easiest to measure can literally fire people or get rid of people or upgrade people based upon performance, but so many people make excuses because performance a lot of times is gray. Mm-hmm. There's variables that contribute. And so what I would challenge people to think about is you must have clear standards, and the key with measuring people with performance is having clear expectations from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Like, what is the measuring stick that we both agree to, and bring the person in to helping you define this is what the role needs because when you do that, it adds clarity and unity.
Yeah, it's a step that you cannot miss when going.
I sound like an angry old man today on this podcast. I love it,
man. No, it's all. This is all real, man. It's like there's a step when explaining expectations that I think so many, especially younger managers miss that haven't been burned enough, is this idea of what they say they think people will just hear and interpret the same way that they feel like they're saying it, versus no, you've got to get alignment and clarity on if you are setting the expectations, you want your teammates, you want your employees, you want your staff to repeat that back to you, be able to say it with the same clarity that you feel like you're saying it, so that they're eliminate the excuses.
Yes.
So it always comes down to, great, let me get all the excuses out of the way. How can I help you with this? Oh, your computer's running slow. Let me get you another computer. Your mouse isn't working. Let me get you another mouse.
Yes.
You're having trouble. You don't understand this part of it because you weren't trained well. Great. I'm going to schedule 2-hour training with you, and then we're going to test you after the training so that I can see that you know how to do it. Get rid of every excuse to really get down to the reality, because some of them might be legit. Others aren't going to be legit, and they are truly excuses.
People need accountability.
Yeah.
Simple fact to look at is just look at how overweight our society is here in America. I'm not going to judge the world because I'm not really a world traveler, but here in America, look at overweight we are. We all know what it takes to not be overweight. We all know it's unhealthy for us, but we're all overweight because it takes so much discipline and accountability. Humans by nature, we need accountability. You must put in accountability through performance. And you think about this, right? Here's a good analogy for you. Doc Rivers, right, was let go from the 76ers, right? They make it to the playoffs. They have the MVP of the league on their team.
2 or 3 years in a row, right?
3 years in a row. In all aspects of the game, they're doing better than 85%, let's say 90% of all the other teams. The head coach still loses the job. Why? Because it is not about doing your best. It is about doing what is required. It is about doing and hitting the mission, achieving the goal. Yeah. And that is a key thing for people to understand in business. The Netflix, they hired HR director, and this was a powerful thing I heard that stuck out to me, and I share it often. Is they hired this HR director, came in, totally revamped the whole culture. And what they did is they came in, and here was a culture that was family-oriented. Oh, we're a family-based culture. We're family-oriented. We love each other. We treat each other like family. And they changed it, and they turned it on its head and said, no, we're not a family business. We are a high-performance team. You don't fire your family. In a high-performance team, there's people who make the team. People get cut from the team. There's people who are the star players that get paid more. People who are the, supporting cast. Yeah. Right? So that is a key thing in business. And why am I so passionate and direct in saying this? It's because this is what kills businesses. And when you kill a business, you're helping nobody. You have impact that you're creating on not only your employee's life, your team member's life, your client's life. You will have none of that if you're not willing to do the hard thing that a leader's required to do, which is make sure you're honing in and going, do I have the right team members in the right seats? And if I don't, am I willing to make the move?
Yeah, we'll talk about the second point there because you alluded to it a little bit earlier, which is this idea of teammates not being aligned to the mission or the vision. And I think part of this, it's super important. You have to express what that is. So your Netflix example there,
Yeah, you have to share with people every single day what the vision and the mission of the organization is, and you have to be willing to hire and fire based upon it, right? Because it's not, again, don't watch what people say, watch what they do. Mm-hmm. So you can have the vision and mission statements written on the wall all you want. You can speak them in meetings all you want. But if you're not hiring people based upon them, not firing people based upon them, then you truly don't believe in that. You believe in maybe a sub point of that.
Like
you don't,
the idea of it.
Right. It feels good. It sounds good. All that good stuff. You have to make sure people are aligned to the vision. What does that mean? It means that they're waking up every single day and they're rowing in the same direction of you. It goes to Grant Cardone's point. When he is pushing so hard to accomplish a vision and he's not getting there, he looks first internally and goes, who's pushing against me? And oftentimes they don't even realize it, right? A lot of times when you let people go, firing is obviously a harsh word, but when you let people go a lot of times for performance-based things or for things that are not alignment to the vision, you're actually helping them because they're in a role where they're not enjoying what they're doing. They're not passionate about it. That doesn't wake them up at 2 a.m. in the morning and they're excited about it. And so you allow them to actually move on with their life and find a company and a vision that they can get passionate about. So when people aren't aligned to that vision and they're not willing to do whatever it takes, go the extra mile, classic that I look for is when people don't do things outside their job description, when people don't take initiative, when they just punch the clock, That is a telltale sign for me that, hey,
there's not a greater
okay,
purpose
I'm not going to
there.
fire you technicality-wise on that, but it alerts me to going, this is someone that is here for a paycheck, not for the vision and mission of the organization.
Yeah, and it's critical to have those conversations with your team members well ahead of the actual decision of letting somebody go. It is critical that you communicate that with your team members so that they can respond or realign if sometimes doing that actually wakes somebody up. You know, there's been times in my own career where I've been woken up because I was maybe going through the motions, right?
Yes.
And you kind of lose the higher purpose that you're working towards. And so you need to have those real conversations with your teammates, your team members, to give them the chance to say, yeah, you're right. I wasn't 100% on board, or they could self-select out at that
They
point.
could, yeah, exactly.
I don't know that I go along with this after all.
Movement is good. Movement is good. What you don't want is lukewarmness. You're either hot or cold, otherwise you get spit out, right? You don't want lukewarm. You want movement. Movement is, hey, I'm not passionate about this anymore. I get off the bus. I am passionate about it. Let's keep going. Movement is good, and you need accountability partners in your life. I posted this on my Instagram the other day. All leaders, listen up. Leaders must be the ultimate truth tellers. You as a leader must be the ultimate truth teller. The reason why is because your job is to not sugarcoat things. Your job is not to make people feel good all the time. Your job is to bring the best out of people. And sometimes that might be moving them on.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, this is probably the most obvious one, but lacks integrity or not aligned to the values of the organization.
Yeah. So the lacks integrity is, do they do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah.
And if a team member doesn't do what they say they're going to do, that is a huge red flag. And one is okay. I always say this for anything, like instances are fine, patterns are not, right? So everybody has instances, myself included, where you something happens, you have an off day, whatever it is, that's okay. You have to have empathy, compassion, understanding, all those things. Patterns are a sign of habit, a sign of character. And so you need to look for people who have high integrity. They do what they say they're going to do, and they actually treat people with respect. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows this, the people that walk into the room, the people that come into an organization. You know, I heard Alex Hermosi talk about the advice he got from a billionaire friend of his. Guy owns many, many, many companies. And he said, an A player, you know instantly.
Yeah.
He says it does not take you 2 weeks to find out if this is an A player or not. In my experience, that is true. When I hire an A player in this organization, I know immediately. They may don't have the technical knowledge yet of our systems. They don't have the institutional knowledge of our company, but they are an A player in initiative, in energy, in integrity, in performance. They're an A player. Yeah. And you know immediately. So if you're questioning whether you have an A player or not, you don't have an A player.
4th one, and this is really one of the hidden sicknesses I think that organizations have, is people, team members that are bringing others down. So they're not just not helping the business; they're actually hurting you because they're bringing other people down, and those people know it.
Dude, Cody, I believe her last name's Sanchez. She's killing it on content on Instagram. Go follow her right now. She posted an Instagram reel. Blew my mind. It was a study. I think it was done by Harvard. 58,000 working hours. 10 different companies they measured. And they called it red pill versus I think blue pill. And they set people by high performers. Okay. And if you were seated near a high performer, your performance increased by 25+%.
Wow.
If you were sitting by a bad performer, a negative Nancy, someone who is this type of person brings you down, you decrease by 30+% in performance.
Moly.
Just being in vicinity of them. It's like, go watch this Instagram reel. It really blew my mind. And we all know it to be true. Who you surround yourself with, you become. Yeah. But if you sit people by low performers in your company, they are bringing everybody else down. Cut that cancer out. You have to.
Yeah. And I think that this is important. It's something that you learn over time. It's like people on the team know who those people are, and they're almost going like, why don't you just pull the trigger?
Yeah. And then it's a representation of you as the leader.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me so many times. I've put up with people for too long, showed too much, weakness in the sense of disguised as empathy, disguised as compassion, but truly it's weakness. It's like I tell myself, oh, I'm being compassionate. I'm being empathetic. No. You're not being compassionate to the high performers beside them. You're not being empathetic to them.
Exactly.
You're being empathetic to yourself and to that person because you're too weak to actually execute on the mission. And you think about all the mass firing that has happened. And I'll make the statement because I want to make sure people understand. I don't want anybody to get fired. Right. I don't think you should go into work looking to fire people. I don't believe in that type of culture. But I believe this is a necessary thing we have to talk about because in order to grow a business, and we've grown a $70+ million business here. Yeah. In order to grow a business successfully, this is part of it. But these mass firings, what you have to understand is that is a leader that they know the mission and the vision. And unfortunately, the mission and vision is always greater than one person. It is the collective that matters. It's the actual organization as a whole that matters. And sometimes you have to lay off people to save the organization. Sometimes you have to cut off the limb to save the body.
Elon found 6 people managing 1 developer.
Yes. Well, let's not even talk about what was going on in Twitter because I think he's cut like 80% of the staff.
Yeah, that is definitely different. That's different from what we're talking about.
That was a company that actually it is kind of aligned to what we're talking about. They had misalignment in values and vision and mission. Yeah. Half that organization wanted to be a political activist organization. The other half was trying to build a social media platform. I don't even know if it's halves, but you get my point. Yeah. So it was a company that had an identity crisis. Elon Musk comes in as a leader, and he goes, we are now this type of organization, and he executes based upon that. Do I want anybody to lose their job? No, but he has a vision, and he's getting people aligned to that vision, and that's true leadership.
Yeah, well said. All right, thank you so much for listening. You can head over to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes and the video of this episode. And look, part of growing an organization is also hiring the right people. So one of the ways, over 850 people have completed their predictive index assessment at remindermedia.com/staypaidpi. So you can actually take your predictive index assessment, get a sense for what that's like, see if it's something that you want to do into your organization. Share this link with your team over at remindermedia.com/staypaidpi. If you like this episode and want to support the show, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. We'll read it here on the show, and the best way to show your support is to share this episode with a friend or on social media. Speaking of splitting up, what did Yoko say when the Beatles broke up?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
There we go.
Thank you, Ethan. If you want to get hold of me, Luke,
on top of that, man.
You can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, or you can follow us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. My challenge to you, if you are looking to let someone go out of your organization or understand how to do that, you first need to be the leader you're supposed to be. Did you set clear expectations? You know, the common saying is, which is a true saying, nobody should be surprised when they're getting let go. And that is a representation and reflection of you as the leader. Did you set clear expectations? Align people to the values and the mission and vision of your organization. And if you have, no surprises take place, and you can let people go with honor and integrity because you've been the leader you're supposed to be. So make sure you are setting clear expectations, not only for yourself, but also for your team members. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer in every single business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.